Welcome to our Municipal Council meeting for today, January 2nd. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As part of our meetings, we usually have an opening ceremony, but this time we're actually going to do an oath of office, and I'm going to ask the newly elected candidates to step over here. Is that right? Teresa, tell me if I'm misdirecting people. And we're going to get an oath administered by Teresa Harris, our city recorder. After the oath, family members and friends who are here to join in the moment, if you want to get a picture taken, please feel free to come up, and we'll allow some time for that.
Okay, I'll start with Jeannie and each state your name. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Jeannie Simmons,
I, Mark Anderson.
I, Mike Johnson.
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
as Logan Municipal Council Member,
as Logan Municipal Council Member,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations, all of you.
So if anyone wants to, does anyone want to take a quick picture with family? Especially Mike, this is the first time for you. All right,
Mike's
come on.
supposed to be taking pictures.
We'll just do a quick one. It's a repeat for these two, but this is kind of a, all right. We're happy to have family members come. It's fun to meet you and see your support of your family. Okay. Perfect.
Yes. I'll take the rest of you out briefly. Can you smile?
He's like, there's a lot of people here.
Please stand as you're able and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And congratulations to Mike for being the newly elected officer and representative, and Mark and Jeannie for being re-elected. Now is the time for the minutes to be accepted and the approval for the agenda.
I would move acceptance of the minutes and approval of tonight's agenda. Do you want to second it?
Sure, I'll second that.
First official.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All against, please say nay. We've accepted our minutes and approved our agenda for tonight. Next up is just a reminder that our meetings usually happen on the first and the third Tuesdays of every month at 5:30 p.m. And our next meeting will be on January 16th of this month. Now is the time for anyone in the public who wishes to address the council or the mayor with items that are not on the agenda for tonight. So if you'd like to speak about a specific issue that is not on the agenda for tonight, please come up to the mic, state your name and your place of residence, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less.
Hello again, my name is Paul Campbell. I live in Logan. Mayor Daines and City Council, thanks so much for letting me speak to you again. I'm Paul Campbell. I'm one of the pastors at Gospel Peace Church here in Logan. We launched as a church about 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, out of a church in
Yeah.
Salt Lake City called Gospel Grace Church.
Can I just interrupt with a quick question?
Please.
Is this regarding the RFP on the fire station?
Yes.
Technically, you're not supposed to address the mayor and the council when that RFP is out.
Okay.
You're supposed to respond directly to the purchasing officer.
Yes.
So if I could maybe ask you to do that, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Hi, Josh Muller from Logan. Just want to say congrats, Mike.
Thank you.
Awesome job, dude.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Congratulations, I guess. I'm just here to prime my little rhetorical weapon that we've been crafting together, and then also just give some information that I don't care to hold on to anymore. Do I have permission to swear?
No.
Very good. And then, so, I don't know, I just wanted to let you know, my grandma just passed away recently, so that's sort of the headspace that I'm at right now. So just, again, priming that little rhetorical weapon. So anyways, recently, I'm a janitor for the city hall and everything like that, and recently I feel like I was retaliated against in a way by just simply speaking up against my disenthusiasm towards the violent rhetoric that the police use and everything in that manner. So I'm not allowed in the police department anymore because I guess they are not a fan of anybody speaking out in any manner against them. I guess it could just be because I was voicing something from inside of the police department, but I think that's something that anybody with any conscience should have been able to see inside of there and should have voiced their opinion on it. Anyways, the reason why I'm also not a fan is even just on my second day of working inside of the police department, I found some open alcohol inside of their break room, so I'm not necessarily up to the interest that they're doing their job as advertised. I don't know, I wish we could take a little bit better look at the dogmas that we've been sort of assuming and adhering to a little bit too much lately. Thank you for your time, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Anyone else? We'll continue with our agenda. Next up, we have mayor and staff reports.
Great. I am happy to have several great items that affect public safety. We just appreciate our public safety. That's a big part of what our community does. Both our fire and our police departments have some great things going on tonight. So item 6A, we'll start with the ratification of our new fire chief, Nate Thompson, and after that, we will have him take the oath of office, and we appreciate all the support here for that event. And so again, council, I'd like to recommend ratification of Nate Thompson as our new fire chief.
I so move.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded for the ratification of Chief Nate Thompson. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against, please say nay. We've ratified Chief Nate Thompson.
Excellent. Let's ask Nate to please come forward and take the oath of office for the fire chief. And then again, if he'd also like to have family come right after that for a quick picture, we'd be happy to have that happen.
Or
So
the entire department, maybe. I think that's an idea.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nate Thompson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
as Logan City Fire Chief,
as Logan City Fire Chief,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Those of you who wish,
Photo with my fire family?
yes, of course.
My family, come up. Is that
Yes,
all right?
please.
I think everybody needs to come up.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Anybody that wishes to get the picture taken, please come up.
That is your profession.
It better be good, right?
We want to be totally blacked out. No, we want to be out of the picture.
You have to get in there. Take a knee. They still include me.
The grab better be in there.
Ready? 1, 2, and 3. All right, talker.
Oh, you're welcome.
Clearly, you have a lot of support from your fire family, so we're delighted about that.
Oh, I know. Hide here, so not in the picture. I can't see the camera, so it can't see me, right?
Secret.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Nate.
And now we have the honor to recognize some folks from the other side of public safety, our police department. And Assistant Chief Hooley is going to come forward and tell us a little bit about this special award that is being given to officers in our police department. I say we'll let these folks slip out. Maybe we could have someone shut those doors at the back so you can visit out in the lobby, and we'll go on with the meeting.
So we're good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, thank you for the opportunity to come and meet with you. Excited for Chief Thompson, the new fire chief, that's exciting. So we're here to talk about an award that we received. So the Logan Police Department is part of 75 law enforcement agencies in the state of Utah that are part of the Utah Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. And as a member of that, their commander came up in December and awarded our department with the Commander's Award, recognizing us as their 2023 Utah ICAC Task Force Affiliate Agency of the Year. So pretty excited about that. Really excited for our detectives that work Internet Crimes Against Children, which we call ICAC. Just if I say that a few times, you'll remember what I'm talking about. During the presentation of the award, the commander remarked about a few things that I thought was remarkable. He was really complimentary towards the work that our ICAC detectives do and the type of cases that they work. And those are Internet Crimes Against Children, which are child pornography, child trafficking, those types of cases. Types of cases that nobody wants to know that are happening in our community. But he talked about that we worked 39 cases that they were affiliated with, and we cleared 21 of those by arrest. I know that doesn't sound like a huge number, but that is in Logan, Utah. We've had that many child porn cases and that many child trafficking cases in our jurisdiction that our detectives took care of. And I think that if you knew the details of those cases, you would be shocked for one thing, but you would be really impressed with the work that they did to accomplish that. They also talked about the fact that how appreciative they are that when they assign a case from our state ICAC, that our detectives actually work them and don't just simply say, we don't have time, and turn them back. We take that very seriously. These guys do a phenomenal job of working through those cases and trying to do everything they can to keep our citizens, our children safe in our community. So So I certainly appreciate that. And I appreciate our partnership that they have with the Utah ICAC Task Force, and complimented us the work that they do to protect our children in our community. So thank you for that. With this award, this is the award that we got from them on behalf of these individuals. We as a department want to just take a minute and recognize them in front of the mayor and city council and those that are in attendance today. Chief Simmons, will you join me? So we as the department want to recognize the following detectives, and I'm about to call them up so they can be recognized. There it is. So if I can have Detectives Micah Beers, Kyle Van Amen, Ross Hogan, and Chris Fowler was a detective during 2023. He's not able to be here tonight, but we are recognizing him for his work that he did in regards to ICAC as well. And their supervisor, Sergeant Ryan Blau, if he'll come forward. Like I said, this is a difficult assignment. I worked sex crimes as a young detective. We did not have the internet in the way that child pornography and child trafficking is happening now. The things that these individuals see and hear, nobody should have to do that. But I'm so thankful that they're willing to do that so that we can apprehend those that are preying upon our children in our community. So it's with pleasure that we award them our citation award from our department in recognition for the work that they have done and for the work that they have done to be recognized by the state, as out of 75 agencies, they picked us because we're doing really good work. So I appreciate them and thank them for what they do. We can just give them a round of applause.
Really quick, it's also important to know that these guys do this part-time. They're busy working full-time cases, adult sexual assault cases, domestic cases, all sorts of things. So they're just doing this part-time, and they're getting recognized as one of the top agencies or units in the state. It is disgusting, horribly abhorrent work. The things that these folks have to see on a daily basis just to be able to make a case, to present it to the attorney so that we can go forward is absolutely horrendous. Things that no human being really ought to have to see. But they volunteer to do this, and we are so very grateful for them. There's no greater crime against humanity, and I think, than these sexual crimes against children. So once again, thank you very much, you guys, for what you're doing.
Did you guys get all the photos you needed? All right.
Well, she did, yeah.
Okay.
Stand up straight.
Don't think about the cases.
Yeah. Thank you again. We truly appreciate your service and
Thank you.
what you do. Great. The third item under Mayor and Staff reports is Library Board appointments. We appreciate those folks who are willing to serve on our various boards and committees. And we have one board reappointment and one new appointment. I understand that they're attending virtually.
David.
Oh, this is David. Oh, I thought you were going to be virtually. We'd like to have David Welch stand up and recognize him. He is a reappointment to the Library Board. Again, you've served on that board well, and we do appreciate that service. And then we have one new member to appoint, Ann Wattups, and I understand she is likely watching online, so we say welcome to Ann. But I would request ratification of those two individuals from the council, and clearly it will be an exciting time to serve as we move into our new building and are able to offer even more services with that new facility. So
I move for ratification of David Welch and Ann Wattups as the new appointments to the Library Board.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. 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 All against, please say nay. We've ratified Ann Wattups and what was the other?
David Welch.
David Welch. Thank you for your service.
It's an applause night.
yeah. Well, I know we're a little more formal, but it just seemed like the night to do photos and celebrate a lot of folks that are helping and
Doing
participating.
incredibly
so.
good work.
All right, with that, my report is over.
Thank you. Next up, we have a couple of council business items. First, Planning Commission update by Jean.
Yes, Planning Commission was in December, from the 14th, so it was a while ago. There were 2 short-term rentals, well, 3 short-term rentals that were approved. It became a little clear in some conversations that I'm sure more than just I had with some of the neighbors, that we may want to look at how many short-term rentals we're allowing and what our parameters are again, because we seem to be getting quite a few in some neighborhoods, and perhaps that's something we want to look at in the future. No promises, but it's something we can talk about. So there was one on 822 Canyon Road in the Wilson neighborhood, one at 1369 North 1500 East in Hillcrest, and then there was a short-term rental at 8 Terrace Place in the NR6 zone in the Adams neighborhood. In addition to that, there was a subdivision amendment for Harvest Cove, which is a 16-lot subdivision for townhouses to have their own tax ID, so they could be sold separately. The 10th North Professional Building was approved. It's a 28,000 square foot office building at 50.5 East 10th North in the commercial zone, technically in the Adams neighborhood. And the 100 West Hotel came again. It had been approved before, and I had to leave before they discussed it, but from what I understand, there were no substantial changes to the original approval, but since it had been quite a long time, they had to come back through the process.
By the
Is
high
that the
school.
one across from Rec Center?
Yes. That's where the old Wonder Bread
Wonder Bread.
is. And the Old Man Building addition, not like an old man, but an M-A-N-N man, is a single-story commercial building at 185 East Cache Valley Boulevard. It was continued to January. There are 2 rezones that we will workshop this evening, and that is my report.
Thank you, Jeannie. Next is the time to choose to select our new council chair and vice chair for this calendar year.
You want to do it again?
I think Ernesto could do it again.
He said no. I heard him when last time he was like, no, I don't want to do this again.
I wouldn't mind doing it again, but I'm sure other people want the opportunity to do it. So I'm all ears. Any nominations? Or should I nominate people?
I would nominate Amy
For what?
for chair.
I'll second that motion.
Are you willing to do that?
I'm willing to do that. It's been a few years, so, since I did it.
Great.
Do we want to vote on that first?
I don't care.
Sure. It's been moved and seconded to nomination for Amy to be the chair, and I'm assuming you accept the nomination. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against, please say nay.
I did say yes.
It was quiet.
It was quiet, yeah.
You are the new chair for this calendar year.
Okay.
Next up, we just have to elect a vice chair.
Well, I would nominate Mark Anderson as vice chair for 2024.
I'll second that.
Being moved and seconded, do you accept
I would.
the nomination? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against, please say nay. Mark, you're the new vice chair for this calendar year.
That was quick.
There was no fist fighting or arm wrestling, so at this point,
all precedents.
do I
No, you're still,
over to you.
you're
You
still
sure?
chair for today. You're still chair for today. It's your agenda, not mine, so.
Which I have to say, it was a great learning opportunity for me, and I appreciate the trust to be the chair for the 2023 year. So thank you.
Good
Did a
job.
great job. Did a great job.
Thank you. All right, on to our action items. First up, we have a public hearing for Resolution 23-53 and some budget adjustments. Richard, would you?
Single one to request approval, 9620 for police department forfeitures appropriated toward the replacement of equipment and some police training.
Any questions for Richard before we open it up for public comment?
No questions.
This is a public hearing. If you would like to comment on this specific item on the agenda, please come up to the mic and state your name and your place of residence, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. All right, we'll bring it back to the council.
I move approval of Resolution 23-53.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All against, please say nay. Resolution 23-53 passes. Next up, our last action item for the evening is another public hearing for Resolution 23-54 regarding the UM Space on the Power project. And Mark will walk us through it.
Dressed appropriate.
Oh. He's got his suit on?
Always for you.
Oh.
All right, buckle up.
We buckled up last time.
It's been a month. Refresh our memories.
Oh, it's going to be a refresher, all right.
Did you bring the outfits I asked
I did
for?
not bring apples for fear of being ridiculed. But I probably could have done with apples. Okay, let's get through this so we don't waste too much more of your time. This prepay Payson project transaction involves 3 entities. One of them is UAM, of course, which we are a member of. One of them is the Southeast Energy Authority, or SEA, and they are a UAMPS type organization located out in Georgia. And J. Aaron. J. Aaron is a subsidiary of Goldman Sachs. They are the commodities subsidiary. And during this whole thing, J. Aaron organizes a special purpose entity called Prepay LLC. And we'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. The Prepay LLC allows the energy transaction between UAMPS and all of our existing power purchase agreements to remain unchanged and unaffected and untouched, as it were. Just a quick bit, I found this web page about SEA, and this talks about this similar transactions that they've done in different states, different amounts, but it's the exact same transaction that we're talking about here. Just to kind of let you know that they've done this, they do this, it's kind of what they do. Okay, the prepaid energy transaction structure. The first step is UAMPS will take a PPA or a block purchase of natural gas, something that represents energy, and they will assign it to J. Aaron in a limited assignment agreement, or an LAA. Next, SEA, Southeast Energy Authority, they go out and get bonds for 30 years, and they receive those bond proceeds. And they have access to tax-exempt bonds, so that's why they're doing that. SEA is a tax-exempt entity, so they're able to access this money in that fashion.
And that's what translates into the savings that we get.
Next, SEA sends all that proceeds from the bond payments to the Prepay LLC, and Prepay LLC holds that money. With that money, the Prepay LLC invests it. They deposit it, or they give loans, or some kind of investment vehicle. And so they put money into this funding recipient, and then they receive, obviously, proceeds back. They receive a
monthly proceeds back. Those monthly proceeds are used to fund the purchases of power from J. Aaron, because J. Aaron holds those power purchase agreements, remember?
They bought them from you,
So they're making those payments on the monthly payments. Next, J. Aaron delivers, or still on paper, they deliver the gas and or the electricity monthly to the prepay. The prepay delivers the gas or electricity to SEA, and SEA delivers the gas and or electricity to UAMPS. And when they do that, UAMPS gets an 8% discount. And the reason why that's discounted is there's an arbitrage amount between getting tax-free bonds and the investments that they make. And I don't have the details, I don't know that we're allowed to have the details of how SEA and J. Aaron, they're obviously making some kind of a profit in this as well. This is just the whole thing altogether, one big mess. Okay, additional information on this. UAMPS has no obligation to those bonds that SEA takes, right? We're not obligated to pay those, that's SEA's thing. The transaction term is for 30 years. The amount of discount will be reset periodically when the bonds are refinanced. When those bonds are refinanced, and it's 5, 6, 7 years, there's not really a time frame, but just periodically. The agreement the UAMPS has with SEA specifies a minimum discount to be achieved for each reset period. So, for example, if UAMPS puts this natural gas in for 5 years and then it gets refinanced, and the discount comes back and it's not very good, and that, I can't tell you what that amount is, that's still under negotiation in the contract, but if it doesn't make that minimum decent discount amount, then it's as if the prepay didn't exist until the next reset period. So we would just go about business as usual for the next 5, 6, 7 years until they reset it again and try and up that arbitrage amount between the tax-free bonds and the investments.
So can you go back 2 slides? So that's, you're talking about that 8%? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, yes, that 8%. And that, yeah.
So why would it be lower?
Well, you know, they get tax-free bond income, but they're making investments, and investments are really, really good, and sometimes they're not so good, and sometimes they're kind of medium good.
Sometimes the bonds don't have as high an interest
Right.
rate on them either. And I assume they don't buy them all at once, so.
No, well, I'm not sure. I got the impression that they do. I think the reset period on the bonding is more in this area here with their investments, but I may be just taking a guess that I could be wrong. They may redo these bonds as well, and I can find that out if you'd like, but.
So we assign our output, our being UAMPS, to J. Aaron, and then we somehow receive it back, or we receive more than that back?
No, we receive the same at a discount. If we didn't do this, we wouldn't get it as a discount, we'd just be paying for it. Or if the discount doesn't reach the agreed upon discount amount, we'll get it back for that reset period anyways.
At what it currently is.
Business as usual, yeah.
So why is this legal?
That's the resolution you're passing tonight. As long as the energy is used for a qualifying use, which is to sell it retail to your retail customers, which we do. We don't sell our power to anybody else. We sell it to our customers. As long as it falls under that qualified use, it's all legal under the tax code.
Yeah, but why is it legal?
I don't know, talk to the tax code dudes. I don't know. But like I say, this SEA's been doing this for several years, and they do it with lots of different entities, and it's a vehicle for us to get discounted power.
So do all of the members of UAMPS have to agree to this, or is it member by member?
So currently the natural gas block purchase through the Payson project is the one that they're using to put into this transaction. Only the members that are in that project have to approve this. So all of the entities that are in the Payson project that are buying power from that plant are doing this same presentation, a similar presentation.
I applaud you for the presentation, it's very clear. But
I'm not very good with PowerPoint. It's hard to make these things disappear and reappear.
So is there a certain percentage of the people in the Payson project that have to approve, or 100%?
100%.
100% have to approve, or it doesn't happen?
So are there any downsides to this?
We'll cover that.
Okay.
We're going.
Let's see, main risks. Okay, we're committed for 30 years and the cash flow needs to remain constant unless, of course, they don't meet that minimum discount, in which case,
That goes away.
I mean, we're still making payments for power, but.
So cash flow out of our pocket or cash flow into theirs?
No, for the bond payments.
Okay.
But if they can't make their minimums, then that's between them, right? They've got to make those bond payments without our power purchase.
Either way, we're buying the electricity.
Exactly.
We got to pay for it.
So they couldn't just say, yeah, we said we were gonna sell you the same amount, but we have another buyer that is offering more money.
No. These are our power purchase agreements. And we assign them in a limited assignment agreement that's protected to us, to UAMPS. This is what the resolution is, that we're using this energy that we're purchasing for qualifying use. And this is more of a UAMPS thing. They have to make sure they don't put it into the energy imbalance market or the extended day ahead markets, which is kind of a hedging thing that power companies do. But they know that they won't do that because that would jeopardize this agreement and the tax code. UAMPS can't predict the savings. We talked about this. When the prepay is reset by SEA, the savings may be more or less at each reset period. And if they don't make this minimum that's in the agreement, then we're not in it for that period of time until they get it.
Do we know what that minimum is?
No, that's under negotiation right now. I've heard it in the range of 6.5%. Okay.
So the smallest discount would be 6.5. They're proposing it's going to be 8 to start.
Yeah, 7.5 to 8.
And what's the total amount?
Total amount of what?
That we save? Like, how much power do we purchase from this, and so how much is our
We
savings?
purchased quite a bit. I don't have that number, but
Is it like $200,000? Is it $1 million?
so my power bill monthly is about $1.7 to $2 million a month.
Okay.
And the Payson project, which is the natural
Right.
gas generation station, we purchase a lot of power through there. Probably, I would say 15 to 20% of our power comes through that plant.
$5 million.
Yeah, so there's a good amount.
So it's 8% of $150,000 a month.
$400,000.
Yeah. And I don't have those exact numbers. I apologize. I didn't run those calculations.
Times 5.
So again, just to reiterate, this resolution isn't to approve the prepay. It's just to certify that we are using that power as a qualified use. That's the only thing this resolution does. But now you understand all the stuff that's behind it.
Has UAMPS ever done this before?
No, this is the first time UAMPS has done this. And I think I mentioned this last meeting, but Bountiful City has done this, I believe, with SEA just on their own. They didn't go through UAMPS, but they prepay natural gas for their own internal natural gas generators. And they have done this to receive discount from their energy purchases. And speaking with the Bountiful Power Director, that was comforting to me, because when I first saw this, I was like, kind of like you guys, right? It's, whoa, this is really complicated. But he said it's turned out really well for them. So he didn't have any qualms about taking this to his council and governing boards.
So all we're certifying is that we will resell it appropriately.
Yep.
And we only sell power to retail customers in the city, correct?
Yep, we don't do anything else with it, so.
We don't have any extra.
Sure.
Any other questions?
That,
I just watched The Wolf of Wall Street over the weekend, so, probably not good timing for you, Mark. I don't know why I watched it. It's a horrible movie, but.
that slide that you shared with your search,
Oh, from SEA?
was that official city documents, or what kind of?
This is SEA's website. Whoops, I missed it. I don't know if you want to read through that. It's, they advertise this on their website for entities to do this prepaid transaction with them. And then you can go through a questionnaire of whether you qualify or not to do this. So this is kind of their business model amongst selling selling wholesale power to municipalities and government entities.
So how come Utah's not on there if Bountiful did it?
They're about to be.
Oh, okay, that's a recent.
I don't know.
That's a recent one.
And I could be wrong, maybe Bountiful isn't doing this through SEA, but it's a prepaid transaction through somebody.
Any other questions, comments? This is a public hearing. If you would like to comment on this specific item on the agenda, please come up to the mic and state your name and your place of residence, and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Bring it back to the council.
So this is something UAMPS initiated.
Yes.
Our risk is pretty low.
Well, I feel like it's very low because of that clause in there that says if you don't make the discount we want, then we back out of it until you come back with a better discount. The biggest risk is that UAMPS is signing this prepaid agreement for 30 years, and I went over this a little bit with Rich. Say natural gas becomes untenable to use because it's not a carbon-free product. And, we could take, for example, our Red Mesa Solar power purchase agreement, and we can plug that into that, or one of our other power purchase agreements. So we shouldn't have any trouble. UAMPS's portfolio is very diverse, and there's lots of things that we could put through this thing. And I think that's their plan, is to circulate that through different.
So this might not be the first time we see an agreement like this, too, potentially.
Yeah, I don't know.
8% is significant.
It is.
It's a lot. Adds up.
Where did that 8% come from? Because the minimum is 6.5%. Is that just an estimate, or is that from other?
That's an estimate. I've heard 7.5 to 8%. For
Do we know what? I mean, we got a bunch of states that have done this with. Have we seen numbers from those other states? And
no, that number's coming just from what the market conditions are right now.
What the bond market is.
Yeah.
The returns.
Yeah. But it's the tax-free portion is where they really generate their money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So do we see gray hair on you, sir, about this?
I don't love financing arrangements that require a PowerPoint slide to
understand it.
But,
or a 30-year agreement.
But I do understand that this is the business of UAMPS. That's what they do. And we're not approving their financial transaction. All we're doing is allowing them to piggyback off of
our residential sales.
That's all we're doing. So while I don't love it, while I would try to avoid it personally and professionally, I also understand that there's some smart professionals that do this type of thing. And those 8% margins are enough that it's important to them. I don't love it, but I also don't mind it happening. Again, we're not approving that.
Yeah.
But I don't want it happening at UAMPS, as long as they're careful and the board's watching.
We're going to spend the $5 million for energy no matter what.
Yeah.
So.
And if we're getting an 8% discount, there's a bigger discount going on in the system.
Something else, yeah.
And there is risk. I think we have to acknowledge there's risk on UAMP's side that would kind of trickle to us, through us. But I also think it's managed. And it's in two pieces. One is the arbitrage, and the other is the prepayment, is where they're realizing those savings. And so as long as they're dealing with reputable companies, we're relatively okay.
So because I have faith in Mark Montgomery, I would move approval of Resolution 23-54.
And I would second that.
Do we have a public hearing first?
We already did.
We already had it.
We already did it.
No one came?
No one did.
Yeah, we did.
What?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask Craig, any legal comment on this type of thing?
So I'm not UAMPS's legal counsel, right? So I can't speak to that necessarily, but what we're doing tonight, just certifying that we're going to use this power for this purpose, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Moved and seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other comments? No? Any emotional outbursts, Mike?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
All right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All against, please say nay. Resolution 23-54 passes. That is it for action items. Next up, we have 4 workshop items, and
I need to set that on the right. Here, go ahead.
all right, we have workshop items, and first up, we have Resolution 24-01. Karen, our library director, will be walking us through that.
You're walking better.
Working on it. We are proposing the library fines and fees for 2024. This just includes the circulation fees. It does not include any meeting room fees or any fees for our makerspace for our new library. We haven't determined those fees yet. These are just everyday kind of fees that the library uses on a daily basis with our patrons. I did do research, and I contacted different libraries like Weber County, Salt Lake Public, Lehigh, and Murray Library are the same size as us, and just found that our fees are pretty much the same. Salt Lake Public actually charges more than we do, but most libraries were right around where we were. We have not had a fee increase for several years. So for the circulation fees or the any of these others. Do you have any questions about anything? Question about what a fee might be?
So if I'm understanding correctly, the only 2 changes or 3 changes are those in red, right?
Correct. So when an ILL, interlibrary loan item, is not returned, that's an item that we borrowed from another library. So if a patron doesn't return that, then what we charge is $5 plus what the owning library charges. Before, we were just charging them a flat fee of $75. We found that other libraries were charging us a small fee, like the $5 plus how much the item costs. So we thought that was fair. The replacement items processing fee only was, and the processing fee is we no longer allow patrons to replace items. We used to allow patrons to replace items that, like if they lost a book or a DVD, they could go out and buy it from Amazon and replace it. We will negotiate usually with them with the price, because usually when you buy something off of Amazon, then later it's cheaper or even more expensive. So we'll work with them on the price if it has changed in value a lot. But we don't like people to replace items. We usually were getting the brunt end of the deal where we weren't getting good quality items back, and it was a lot of work to find the correct item. So we decided not to do that anymore. So we just are going to charge what the purchase price is of the item, and or else we work with the patron if there's a problem, or if they found it on Amazon that was cheaper, then we'll talk to them. If we can replace it ourselves for cheaper, then we'll do that.
So is there a place where you are charging that fee?
The processing fee?
No, the replacement fee. So if somebody loses something or doesn't return it,
it becomes a lost item.
And
So
it's
they pay
just
the
a
full
loss?
purchase price.
It's a lost item,
two
but
lines
they
above that.
pay the full purchase
They'll
price.
pay the full purchase price.
No? Oh, okay.
It recategorizes to a lost item. With the ILL items not returned, were we typically overcharging or undercharging with that
We were
75?
overcharging.
We were overcharging. So the patron should see a cheaper
Yes.
fee there.
They should
if
see a cheaper fee.
My only question.
Any other questions? Thank you, Karen.
Are you excited right now, or are you overwhelmed with all the work into the library?
Yes. We would just like some of the hiccups to be, so we could move forward faster. But anyway, it's all going to work out. And so, yeah, excited and overwhelmed.
Oh, the mural looks so wonderful, like peeking through the windows. It's like, I'm excited to be able to go in and see it.
The mural turned out beautiful.
Yeah.
So we were really excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Next up, we have budget adjustments, Resolution 24-02.
Four items to consider. The first is request to appropriate $11,535 that we've received through our K-9 training seminar. If you'll recall, we put on a seminar, bring somebody out to teach as many agencies how to interact with their police K-9s. And this is far cheaper than us sending somebody to be trained or bringing them in just for us. So we're requesting to appropriate $11,535 that was collected as other agencies participated, and now we're asking to put that back toward the expenses where they were incurred. Request to appropriate $400,000 for repair at the highway pen stock. We had an accident where somebody damaged our pen stock. We are in the process of fixing that now. We anticipate by the end of the fiscal year, next several months, we'll have that kind of fixed, and then we'll request reimbursement from the insurance company. But this is a request to appropriate the ability to move forward and get that done in advance and receive those funds.
What is a hydro pen stock?
It's the big tube that feeds water to the generators.
Okay.
And how did it get, somebody actually damaged it?
They ran into it.
The drunk driver went off the road and hit it.
Oh, oops.
And this is really thick steel pipe.
It's an 8-foot pipe, so it was hard to miss once they got off the road.
It was also hard not to get hurt by.
Next is a request to appropriate $23,900 for employee benefit changes. Typically, employees are allowed to change their benefits upon certain events that are dictated by federal law. And so this happens periodically. Most of the time it'll offset. In this case, it's not going to, so we're requesting to appropriate $22,900 additional funds from general fund balance. And lastly is a request to appropriate $1.4 million of additional funding for the second dam sediment removal project. And Mark can give you any detail you want there. This is an estimate, but we're fairly confident that this should cover what is happening there. Also, as this project is midstream, we are going to run out of existing funding very, very soon, prior to council approving it. However, we are shifting funds internally from other projects in anticipation that council will approve it. But if council does not approve it, then we will have to make those permanent and then stop the project prematurely. But Mark can speak to why we're having to appropriate.
And we'll shut everybody's power off.
So is not this the project that we got a bid for?
It is. The survey, the bathymetric survey that determined how much sediment needed to be removed was done prior to this extreme high runoff year.
Oh.
And they estimated 14,000 cubic yards in the thing to come out, in the dam to come out. Well, they redid the bathymetric survey, and they came up with an additional 20,000, so 35,000 cubic yards that need to come out. So more than double in one spring runoff. And they're already there, they're already set up, it seems. Well, and if we only took 14,000 out, we'd still have more dirt in there than we started with. So,
And this will bring the capacity, generation capacity back up to where it normally would be.
Well, it'll restore the reservoir. So the reservoir serves two purposes. One is to be a sediment trap, which it does very well. And one is to divert water to the generators. And the problem we're having now is the sediment is going down through the generators because the pond is so full. And we're destroying. In fact, I have one generator completely disassembled and shipped out for machining because it's been sandpapered away because of the sediment.
So, but even with this extra 1.4, that's still way under that other bid you had.
Oh yeah, the other bid was almost $6 million.
So
for 14,000 cubic yards.
Okay.
So.
What's the longevity of dredging second dam like this? Is this something that has to happen frequently, semi-frequently?
Yeah, so it's never been done, to my knowledge, in
Okay.
full fashion, but.
And we're doing it in full fashion now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And part of our permitting is to come up with a sediment removal procedure for FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And so part of that is we want to do this more regularly, right? Maybe every 5 years or something. But it seems like these very heavy runoff years are the ones that impact us the most.
Sure.
The other piece that impacts us a lot at second dam is the third dam is full. So it's not trapping any sediment up there, it's passing it all downstream.
But third dam's a bigger issue.
Third dam is a bigger reservoir. We'll be looking to do that hopefully as soon as possible, but a lot of that just depends on the funds we have to accomplish that with.
So this second assessment of how much is there to remove was made by the company that is doing
No,
this?
it was done by an engineering firm.
Okay, so not.
Well, so the original 14,000 was done by the engineering firm. When the company came in, they did a survey from the same points, right? They have to use the same GPS points to do the survey. And they said, hey, there's an additional 20,000 in here. The engineering firm, Franson, said, well, we'll check that. And so they redid the survey, came up with the same numbers.
That's a lot of dirt that came out of those hills.
It is.
So this will drop the reserve in the electric fund even more. It is currently below the targeted amount. It will drop it 1.4 more. So it'll just take a little bit longer for us to recover. However,
the 8% savings
as long as
we're going to
nothing
get will
else
help.
significant happens, we should be fine to proceed. And we do have good reserves in most other funds. And there is a pending loan from the electric fund to the library that will be paid back partially a little bit sooner than we anticipated, at least some of it. So I feel like we're in an okay spot in our electric fund, but we'll just have to watch it and be careful as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Next up, we have a rezone, ordinance 24-01. Russ, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two rezones tonight for community development. The first is the Little Bloomsbury rezone on 2nd East. This is a small residential property. It's located at 181 North, 200 East, and it's just about 1/10 of an acre, so just under 5,000 square feet. A home built in 1909 sits on the property, and a detached garage sits to the rear of the property, and a canal bisects the property. So the canal runs between the house and the garage. The long-range plan, or the FLUP, that has been adopted shows this entire block as TC. And this block contains several different types of buildings and uses. There's some medical, dental buildings on the north half of the block, residential typically on the south and east side. And then along First East, you have a mix of smaller boutique commercial. There's a bike shop and hair salon, the Ryder Mansion, bed and breakfast hotel or reception center, and then Anniversary Inn is just south of here as well. So the areas to the east remain single family, or it's called DR in the long range plan, but that's just a detached residential. And then of course to the west is more downtown. The current zoning of the block is predominantly TC2. There's this strip of NR6 along 2nd East. There's a half dozen homes that sit in this NR6 area. And if you remember, TC2 is a transition or step down from TC1. TC1 is our most intense, tallest downtown zone. TC2 is smaller. It's meant to help buffer or transition to some of these lower density residential areas on the perimeter of downtown. This particular request is from Dr. Sun, and her intention is to create a very small boutique hotel and gallery. So a 3-bedroom hotel and then a gallery space for her little Bloomsbury organization. Okay, here is this would be the request. It would be contiguous to the TC zone to the west. And here's the sites. You can see 181 here. You can see the canal that goes through. And here is a recent photograph of the home in the center. So, Planning Commission heard this in December. They sent a recommendation of approval to the council, and their vote was unanimous. We did not have public input or public comments at Planning Commission. We have not received letters.
Do you know if the homes to the north and the south of that, are they owner occupied or are they?
I know the home to the south is a rental. I am not sure.
The one to the north, I believe, is owner occupied.
Okay.
Because I see the same car there. I've seen it there for 3 years.
Okay.
So,
Probably.
yeah.
Okay.
There's a house behind that second house. So that whole driveway is shared. So it makes it pretty tight for.
Yeah, there's some design challenges that will have to be figured out as part of the conditional use permit, which the hotel and gallery would require. And I believe the applicant will subsequently submit those designs and be reviewed at Planning Commission.
So she was approved for an Airbnb, correct?
She was approved for a short-term rental just a couple months ago, but she felt like the hotel and gallery better suits her business plan.
And what are, just out of curiosity, it has nothing to do with the rezone, but what are the requirements for a hotel? Is it required that you have
Fire suppression.
and bathroom facilities for every room? And
yeah, the building code requirements are more strict to convert to a hotel rather than converting to a short-term rental. So yeah, there'll be some modifications needed.
And then there would be parking requirements, isn't it 1.5 per unit?
A hotel is 1 parking stall per room.
Okay.
And then there's employee parking. Planning Commission has a little discretion when it's such a small, they may waive the employee parking for this particular one. And then the gallery would require parking in addition to that. And that's based on the size and scope of the gallery.
And street parking is not included in that, correct?
Street parking is not considered when you do these conditional use permits.
Okay.
Correct.
But we're not determining that it's an appropriate use. We're just looking at the rezone to TC2.
Correct.
Correct.
So the flip calls for it to be TC2.
Correct.
Do we know what the schedule for that roughly is? Estimate?
As
No?
it occurs.
As it occurs, okay.
Well, I think, I do believe there's a larger question, and that is, do
I'm
we
allowed to ask them to
want
be questions,
commercial
right?
across from the temple? Is that the
Do we want what?
commercial across from the temple eventually? Is that what we want the community to have? Is that appropriate?
Is that something that Planning Commission talked about, Russ? The proximity to the temple with DC on that side?
They did not talk about that particularly. Now this stretch of 200 East doesn't have commercial until you reach the 400 North corridor.
Right.
And then you have the grocery store, the Instacare, there's quite a bit of commercial. And then there's another stretch of residential until you hit about the middle school. And then, of course, it's pretty much commercial from that point north to the
Yeah, but
boundary.
TC2 is technically commercial.
Right.
So that's why I said that. And whether or not that's appropriate, whether or not that's what we really want as the future of the city is something we probably ought to consider. And I know we're redoing the general plan, and I know that, that's a thought process we may want to engage in.
TC2 does allow multifamily as well. It's kind of a mixed-use type zone, but it is smaller in height and bulk.
All right.
So on the pictures, even though where that garage area is, that's not a separate lot, correct? It's just because the canal bypasses through it?
Correct, but it's the lot north of that.
Okay.
And the canal's open.
Like little,
Yeah, like on this.
a little tiny one, yeah.
Her plan would be to remove the garage and create a surface parking area there to maximize the amount of stalls. Okay, any other questions?
I think we're good to go to the next rezone.
Okay, so this is the Logan Secure Storage Rezone. This is on the other side of town. This is located in the Bridger neighborhood off 10th West and 1950 North. This parcel is vacant. It's just northwest of the Campbell Scientific project, if you're familiar with that site. The long-range plan here calls for industrial park, or IP. That's the dark purple. The light purple that you see is airport, and then the yellow and brown are different residential densities. The current zone is IP, and you can see the city boundary is pretty staggered through here. There's some county to the west. North Logan is kind of on the northeast side of this image. This property recently annexed a few years ago into the city.
So it's just south of it is county property?
Yes. Yep, so that's actually unincorporated county at the intersection of 1800 and 10th West.
Okay.
And then as you go south, it's all incorporated. The proposal here is to go to airport. And so there's a little bit of background, and bear with me, I'm probably going to take a second here, but I think it's worth understanding. So this is a commercial storage unit or self-storage unit project and project request. In October of 2021, this property was approved for a commercial storage unit project. It's 4.43 acres, and as you know, I think it was referenced earlier in the night, our entitlements or permits that the Planning Commission issues have expiration dates. They're not indefinite. They're given a one-year window for an applicant to come in and either fill out for a building permit or file their subdivision or whatever the entitlement is for. They have a one-year window to take action. They also have an opportunity to get an extension letter, which would give them an extra year. And so that's how our entitlement expirations work. In October of 2022, this permit expired. And in the meantime, if you remember, in March of 2022, the Logan City Council approved a new code amendment that no longer allowed storage units in the IP zone. So storage units, we've slowly kind of pushed them to the outlying areas. They actually used to be allowed in downtown, commercial areas, commercial service areas.
There's one on Main Street.
There's still a couple on Main Street. And so I think the motivation is, first of all, they're very land consumptive. They take up a ton of acreage. And they usually employ one person. So it's not economically the best for job growth, employment, et cetera. And so that's kind of the reason I think we've been pushing them farther out. And in March of 2022, the code amendment pushed them to the airport zone and the airport zone alone. So that's the only zone you can build a storage unit facility in Logan.
So from March to October,
he was still grandfathered because his permit had not yet expired. So we would honor that for those 6 months. But in October, his permit expired. But he came to community development. He met with Mike and Tanya. I was not in that meeting. But he had some issues with his contractor. His contractor was sick, and he asked Mike if he would just give him a couple months. He had everything ready to go. And so Mike wrote an extension letter out to December of 2022. So the end of December, he said, okay, I'll give you a 3-month extension. Sound like you're ready to go. He did not submit for a building permit until May of 2023, 5 months after the extension letter. He did correspond a little bit with Public Works in January and February-ish, but the extension letter was very clear that you had to submit a building permit by December. He did not. In May, we received the permit, we rejected the permit, and then in July, his attorney filed an appeal. So his appeal went to the Land Use Appeals Board, the 3-member appeals board right here. And they met in, when did they meet? September, I believe. And they upheld staff's decision of it's expired. Sorry, it's expired. His attorney then appealed it to the district court. And we were just over there a couple weeks ago, right before the holidays. And the judge over there also upheld the city's decision that it has expired. And then he has since appealed it to the Utah Supreme Court.
oh my
That is
goodness.
pending right now, as far as I understand.
So in this timeline, Russ, when we changed the code in March, was he notified that the code had changed so that he was aware when he met? Was he made aware that he was grandfathered in at this point in time? Or was that a surprise to him when he came in May that, oh wait, now I can't do this? I'm just curious about that
I
time.
believe when he met with Mike and Tanya, he understood that the code had been changed.
Yeah, that's why, so his contractor had COVID, and we said the code's changed, we'll give you another 3 months because you were teed up, ready to go. He was aware of the code change at that point.
Okay, so it wasn't
A surprise.
It was a surprise.
Okay, thank you.
And so all of those appeals are dealing with that expired permit, or what we consider to be an expired permit. As a different avenue altogether, he's proposed this rezone to try to get a new permit, and thus the application for airport.
But that's a spot zone in the middle of an IP.
That's what the planning commission said.
That's amazing.
So spot zones are legal
I know, but still,
if you so choose to go down that
like a
route.
random spot.
It does not
First time Russ
match our long-range plan. It does seem odd to have a speck of airport zone south of 2200, because 2200 is kind of the line we drew there. Now, the other issue, sometimes people will say, well, this is a takings because now you've reduced my ability to use my land, and it's not a takings because the industrial park zone is still a very valuable zone. There are numerous commercial uses and business types that are allowed in an industrial zone, and so the economic value has not been robbed of this property and is not a takings in my perspective. And so the Planning Commission met, they recommended denial. The applicant got up, and I'm sure he's going to get up in 2 weeks, and he expressed the need that we have for commercial storage units, and thinks that this is a great spot and his project is a great project. Okay, having said all that, I'm happy to answer questions.
I've got a question. So I've noticed on your background here, and I was at Planning Commission when they talked about it. It says that the applicant cited informal correspondence with water and sewer city personnel as the reason for the delay.
Yes.
So he's saying the delay was caused by our city staff. Is there any validity to that claim? Is there any?
Evidently not, according to the court.
So he was
Sure,
asking,
but obviously the courts don't agree, but
he was asking technical questions about, what size of pipe would be needed, and our staff responded to that. But again, the letter of extension clearly stated that the building permit had to be submitted, and it wasn't submitted. And so talking about a sewer pipe doesn't fulfill that requirement.
he could have submitted the permit without the specifics on the sewer pipes.
Because he could have, because then he could have dealt with that issue after he had the permit.
Is the sewer pipe required on a?
I guess that's part of what I'm asking. Is this?
There's a caretaker, an office area that does have some bathrooms.
But is it required on the building? The details he needed, were they required?
Most of them we have don't have any utilities to them whatsoever, other than maybe the one shed. Most of them we have throughout this.
Yeah, they typically have power, but not water sewer. But it's common to submit a building permit and then figure out some of those utility details through the building permit process.
Our staff did. Thank you, Russ. I appreciate that. Just a clarification.
I see there's a couple of storage places not too far from that location. What are they zoned at? There's 6th West Storage and Economy Storage, Logan on Airport.
So they're likely zoned IP, which as just a year and a half ago, IP was a zone that allowed storage units. And we have dozens of them in the IP zone that are built legally and now grandfathered in.
I remember the conversation when we changed the code. I think you articulated it well, that there are lots of land use and not a great source of employment, which is hopefully what the IP zone would bring in.
Which was my next question, is why'd you change it? Because before you were here for that.
Yeah, no, that was fine. It was just
Mostly
like
employment and land use.
looking at the use code, and that wasn't the only change. That was not the only change we made in March of 2022.
Right.
We made multiple changes across a lot of different areas. That was one of them.
And airport overlay uses are very restrictive. So we felt like a storage unit was a good use because it's a low-rise use in that zone.
There generally aren't people there should an accident occur.
Right.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm content.
All right, thank you, Russ.
Thank you.
Any other considerations?
So we do need to assign committees, Mayor Danes. So as the new chair to have.
You and I should meet, and then typically we have a conversation, send emails out to other council members asking if they have, requests, comments, suggestions, and then we kind of put all the pieces together and again, ask for sort of everybody's blessing and buy-off. So again, we can work on
And there are
that.
some committees that the mayor gets to choose.
Right.
And then there are other committees that we sort of sort out for each other.
But it's on the agenda for the 16th.
Okay, all right.
And there will need to be one new committee that hasn't been in place before. We previously had a countywide solid waste advisory board, but now we'd like to create our new Logan City Solid Waste Advisory Board. Again, just to look at our operations concerning solid waste. So.
And we've also had conversation that in the past, the Logan Downtown Alliance, because we were funding that through our RDA funds, that we had somebody appointed to that. So we'll probably revisit that since we're no longer financially contributing.
So again, we can go through the whole list and see. And again, some of those committees meet frequently, some meet infrequently, so we kind of try and balance the workload among council members as well. Sometimes council members can't get to a daytime meeting as easily, and that group may meet during the daytime. So we try and work around people's schedules and interests and mix things up periodically, so you learn different things about different parts of the city. So.
Good.
All right. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
The last time we
I know.
Good work. Congratulations, Ernesto. You've been